Hi guys, it is April from Getting Her Go With It. Today I want to share with you 7 apocalyptic reads that I think you might be interested in. So let's get into it. So I have 7 reads here. All of them are apocalyptic. So something has happened to the world has ended, or something's taken over the world. It is creepy, it is scary, it is perfect for Halloween, perfect for this time of year. So let us dive right in. I've got the creepiest of the bunch. No, that's not true. There are many creepy ones. There are many creepy ones to come. But I've got a classic to start with, and it is I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. This follows a man who is the last man on Earth because everyone else has become a vampire. Now, you might know of I Am Legend based on the Will Smith movie, which is a loose adaptation, I would say. It's not faithful. So we meet Robert Neville, who during the day will go out and hunt vampires because they're asleep. And then at night, he boards himself up in his home, and there are vampires outside his door calling out to him, asking him to come outside because they want to eat him. And it is really scary. It is creepy, and I cannot imagine being the last person on Earth. I really can't. I really enjoyed this. I've read other books by Richard Matheson and didn't really enjoy those. But I liked this one. So, I Am Legend, classic. Next is one of my favorite books of all time, and it's The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, my favorite. So this follows a family who have rented or own a cabin, and they're there for a little vacation with their little daughter named Wen, and she's outside catching grasshoppers like you do when you're out on summer vacation. And this man walks up to her and starts talking to her, and he seems nice enough, and then he turns to the cabin and he says, "Wen, what's about to happen is not your fault." Obviously, all of the sirens go off in her head and she runs inside the cabin to tell her dad what is going on. And they look outside, and this group of people start coming up the driveway to the cabin. They're all wielding these very strange objects that are like weapons that they've made themselves. And they're like, "We're not going to hurt you. We just need your help to save the world." And it's very much a home invasion story, and it is about this group of people who break in and are trying to tell them the world is ending and we need to do certain things to stop the world from ending. So I absolutely loved this book. It is very graphic. I will say that if you are squeamish about blood and guts and grossness, maybe stay away. That said, I don't like body horror, and I loved this book. So, I don't know, try it out. Very good. Next up is not a horror novel, I promise. It's Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, who is Canadian. Hooray for her. And this follows a band of people who are survivors. This flu takes over the world and kills off a great majority of people. And there are a few survivors. And we follow someone in this little band. They're like a traveling group of like actors and musicians, and they go around from little settlement to little settlement and perform to kind of bring some light to this very dark time. Now, of course, you're not going to go to settlements where everything is always good at all of these settlements. You are rebuilding the world in the way that you want it to be seen, and so very terrible people seek power sometimes. So sometimes they're very much in trouble and in danger, and other times it's perfectly fine. But it is about what happens to this little group, and it also goes back in time, which I love with apocalyptic stories. I love it when they go back in time and show you how it has gone down, like when the world starts ending, when people start contracting this flu. How do people react? And this follows that as well. I absolutely loved this book. So Station 11, another apocalyptic story. Probably my favorite horror novel of all time is an apocalyptic story, and it's called Bird Box. This is about a world in which you cannot look outside, because if you do, there's something out there. And when that something out there sees you and you see it, I think what happens is essentially you lose your mind, you start killing other people, and you most definitely kill yourself. And it is terrifying. And so this woman that we meet is living in this home that's boarded up, and she has 2 kids with her, and she realizes she needs to get away, and she needs to go and find this safe haven she believes is down the river. So she gets in this boat, blindfolds herself, blindfolds these kids, and gets in a boat and starts going. And we also flash backwards in time, again, something that I love, when this thing first starts happening to people. She's pregnant at the time, and it is terrifying. She's pregnant, and she meets a group of people and stays in this house with them, and there's a lot of tension in that house. It was really good. If you did not like the Bird Box movie on Netflix, me too. I just did not like the adaptation at all. So if you didn't like the adaptation, please read this book. It's so good. Then another horror, and then I've got 2 that aren't horror, they're more sci-fi-ish. So I've got The Silence for you is next. It's kind of got Bird Box vibes, except it's not that you can't see things, it's that you can't make noise. Because in this world, there are these creatures that have taken over the world. They hunt by sound. They have come into the world because they were unearthed by this group of exploring this cave somehow. I don't know if they're archaeologists or what, but essentially these beasts come out of the earth. They've been living in this cave system for years and years and years, and they come out and they hunt by sound. So if you make a sound, they will get ya, and they're terrifying. And you follow a family. We follow a family that has a deaf daughter, and so she is teaching the family how to survive without noise. I really enjoyed this. I mean, Bird Box to me is much better if we're comparing the 2, which we don't have to. But I really enjoyed The Silence. Very terrifying people that you meet along the way after the world pretty much ends. That was one of the things that I loved most about this. So The Silence. And then I've got 2 that I'm actually in the middle of. Well, as I'm filming this, I am in the middle of listening to Severance on audiobook, which I am enjoying. This follows, like Station 11, a world in which illness has kind of killed off a lot of the world. In this case, it's a fever called Shen fever. And we meet a woman who lives in New York. She does not contract Shen fever, and most of New York has vanished. They've either died off or they've fled New York. And she has this little blog. She started it before this had all gone down, but she has a little blog called NY Ghost. And she starts actually taking pictures of abandoned New York. Now, she does meet a little group of people who have survived, and she kind of bands with them. Again, not everyone is kind in a world in which there are not a lot of people left. So I'm enjoying this so far. And then last but not least is a book that I have to read next, and I'm hoping to read next. It was the pick that I chose for my book haul from last year. So I go back a year ago. So October of 2018, and I pick a book off of all of the books that I bought in that month. I don't know if that's confusing. Trying not to be confusing. Anyway, I chose The Last by Hannah Jameson, and this sparked my fancy because it is like a murder mystery meets apocalyptic world, which just sounds like such a fun combination. So in this book, you meet a man who is away at a conference. He's in Sweden. No, I always say it's in Sweden. It's in Switzerland. So he's in this beautiful building and he's at this conference and the world ends. Like bombs drop all over the world and there are not a lot of survivors. He and this group of people who stayed at this conference have survived. They're very lucky. Unfortunately, like all of their friends and family have basically died. And he's mourning that. I think he left his wife behind and he's really upset, obviously. He finds out that yes, they've survived, but can they continue to survive? Because at this little conference thing, there is someone starting to kill people off. And it just, to me, sounds like such a mix between And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, and then I don't even know, just an apocalyptic book. And I'm very excited to read this. Also, there's a blurb on the back from Emily St. John Mandel, who wrote Station 11, and she said, brilliantly executed. The questions Jameson poses: who will be with you at the end of the world, and what kind of person will you be, are as haunting as the plot itself. And I'm just excited to read it. So those are all of the books that I wanted to share with you, all apocalyptic, all perfect for this time of year. Let me know in the comments below if you have any apocalyptic books that I didn't share on this list that you enjoyed. I would love to know what that is. Leave it in the comments below, and I will chat with you soon. Okay, bye guys.